All right. So again, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the February meeting of ANC3C. I'm Commissioner Janelle Pagets, the chair of 3C, and it would be great if we can go around and make sure, since this is only our second meeting of this commission, I would like to do the quorum by roll call. So 3CO2, are you here?
I am here.
Thank you. 3CO4.
I am here.
Thank you. 3CO5.
I am here.
3CO6.
Present.
Awesome. 3CO7.
Godwin Kripke is here. Apologies. I'm not driving, even though I look like I'm in a car.
Thank you for clarifying that for everyone. 3CO8.
I'm here.
3CO1.
I'm also here.
All right, with that, we have established a quorum. So let's get cracking. Rachel, can you confirm that notice was sent to all those we're noticing?
Yes, to the listservs, Twitter, and our website.
Thank you. Just to note for everyone, we have started a list that you can sign up for to get notices from us directly to your email, so you don't have to poke around on our website or any of that. Can one of my colleagues post that link in the chat, or do I have to do it?
I think it's there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Commissioner Guys just dropped it in.
Thank you. So yes, please sign up for that if you're interested in hearing directly from us, and we have some other points of interest on there too. So with that, we will move on to approval of the agenda. Currently on the agenda on the consent calendar, which would be approved should we not make changes to this bit, is a resolution regarding the 2023 United Airlines Rock and Roll DC Half Marathon and 5K, a resolution calling for greater transparency and action to address sidewalk repairs, sidewalk gaps, and pedestrian infrastructure, and a resolution regarding congressional overreach negates DC's enfranchisement mandated norms, condemn. Thank you, Commissioner Geis, for your work on that and getting that acronym to work. So these have been up on our website since we noticed the meeting last week as required. With that said, does anyone want to make changes to the agenda? That would also include approving regular commission business, which we're going to have discussion and possible votes on, resolution regarding Environmental Justice Committee as a standing committee, consideration of 3C operating rules and codes of conduct, a letter from 3C to the Office of Planning regarding the Wardman Park large track review, and a consideration of the FMBZA application for 3612 Massachusetts Avenue, the Kosovo Chancellery.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one change to the agenda. First of all, I'm fine with the consent calendar, but I would like to remove item Roman 7-4, which is 3612 Massachusetts Avenue, FMBZA number 2838, as the single member district commissioner for the area where this project is located. There is no resolution or action for the commission at this time.
Okay. I'm assuming none of us are objecting to that. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Having heard none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand or say aye. All right, that's everyone. Thank you. The agenda is approved, as are all those items on consent. So thank you very much for that. Look forward to that rock and roll marathon. All right. Moving on to our next item, which is announcements. Does anybody see Captain Savoy or anyone from
Yes.
MPD?
Captain Savoy is here.
Okay.
I can.
All right. I don't see Captain Savoy yet.
I'm asking Captain Savoy to unmute.
Thank you.
There we go. Captain Savoy?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you just wanted to give a brief introduction, and then if any commissioners have questions or concerns that they would like addressed, or if you want to, provide any updates that you have for the community. I know the one that I had suggested in the email that I sent to you was thank you, was on the shooting that occurred a few weeks ago in the 3000 block of Connecticut. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, sure. I apologize. My computer is not getting any service. But I do have a few things that I can speak about. Hi, everyone. I'm Captain Savoy. I was recently transferred over to the 2nd District the end of December, so I'm fairly new over here at the 2nd District. Just a little bit about myself. I have over 20 years on with the police department. I worked in the 7th District, 1st District, the 4th District. I worked with Commander Bellion back in the 1st District when I was a sergeant and he was a lieutenant. So him and I have definitely worked together in the past. Been on a few specialized task force in my career as well. So you all do have access to the DC crime cards, right? You all see that on your end, the DC crime cards? No.
I do not.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Okay. So normally, with ANCs, the ANCs do not align with our PSAs. PSAs, each district has about 8 to 10 PSAs, which is called patrol service areas, but they don't align with the ANC boundaries, right? So with DC crime cards, if you all go to DC crime cards, you can kind of populate, and I guess I wanted to kind of walk you all through that. I just can't get on my computer at this point. Let me see if I can get on my phone. If you all go through the DC crime cards, you can populate your specific ANC, and then at that point you can kind of see the crime that is being reported, and then you can also compare like year to date from last year. So you guys are aware of that, right?
Oh yes, I've been to this site before. And it's not for a
Right. Okay.
rabbit hole.
So I didn't know if people, and I know a lot of citizens are not familiar with that. And so what we try to do is not only do we really just try to brief out as it relates to the crime, but then really the crime patterns that we're seeing and the crime trends that we are seeing this year. So with 3C, we're on 3C. Okay. So you all pretty much have the Connecticut Avenue corridor, which seems to be a busy corridor. And I can't get my DC crime cards up, but I did print something out. So year to date, in I guess the shooting that you were mentioning, Commissioner, year to date, we did report one shooting, which we call an ADW, which is an assault with a dangerous weapon that did occur inside of a multi-family dwelling along the Connecticut Avenue corridor. And that is still an ongoing investigation. A lot of times we do have victims of these offenses, and they're just kind of reluctant to speak with our investigators and our detectives dealing with that issue. So that is still an active investigation, and this individual, he will survive with that. So year to date, we have had that one ADW that occurred inside of a unit. We've had about maybe 6 to 7 burglaries that occurred along the Connecticut Avenue corridor. When I first was transferred over here, I kind of took a look at the crime. I spoke with the commander about the sector that I was going to be assigned to. He assigned me Sector 2, which entails PSA 204, 205, and 206. So that's kind of Sector 2. And I did take a look, and although we had an overall decrease in burglaries last year, I feel like that number could be lower this year. So that was kind of really my, one of my targets that I wanted to address. So year to date, we've had about 6 or 7. Last week, we had a significant arrest of an adult male where we placed him under arrest for 2 to 3 burglaries and a few unlawful entries. And that occurred in the 2600 block of Connecticut Avenue. What our detectives are doing right now is that they're looking into other cases to see how many other cases that we can close with having the arrest of that individual. And that case was papered. Year to date, we've reported 2 motor vehicle thefts within the ANC. We had 2 robberies. I can't get my computer out. I want to say one of these robberies have been closed already, but there was a report of 2. One was involving where the victim was robbed of their Canada Goose jacket. Now, the Canada Goose jackets, I don't know if you all watch the local news, but apparently we've been kind of experiencing that crime trend across the city. So on our rather cold days, we try to, make contact with citizens, walk in and, just kind of getting that awareness out. Now, I don't know if our outreach is helping or is it just really just the weather, but we have since had a extreme decrease in seeing those robberies taking place, just not in 1D, but across the city. Motor vehicle thefts, seems like we have about maybe 12 year to date. And then the remaining thefts that we've had year to date are just kind of regular thefts. So the way that we capture the offenses is that if it's a theft involving something from an auto, of course, that's a theft from auto. And then a regular theft could be something like out of, our CVS and the Target that we have. So we do have several of those, the CVS and then the Target, I want to say, within those blocks along the Connecticut Avenue corridor.
So Captain Savoy,
Yes, sir.
do not mean to rush you, interrupt you too much, but we do have a full agenda. So
Okay.
if we can keep it maybe brief to the most important
Okay,
relevant.
I'm sorry. So I'm gonna start
No worries.
talking. So pretty much, because
No
I would like
worries.
to go to bed as well.
Yeah, I know.
I've been at
Same
work
for
since
us.
5 o'clock in the morning. So pretty much that's kind of what I'm seeing, you all. We have we established a short beat along the Connecticut Avenue corridor as it relates to those burglaries as well. So you all should be seeing that, during the overnight tour. Does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry. And if there's a question that I can't answer, I will leave my email in the chat, and that you all can just email me and I can give you all a response if I can't give that to you tonight. I'm sorry.
I guess as a follow-up to the shooting, do you guys have a suspect in it? Is it domestic in nature? Is there a threat to the community? I think that is the crux of, if you provide that answer.
There's not a threat to the community. It is likely that our complainant or victim does know the suspect, but they're not willing to cooperate with us at this point.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any specific questions? Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, and just so since my district is that Cleveland Park Main Street stretch, I just wanted to ask a little bit more about where you said from some of those robberies that maybe there's a beat officer that has been assigned to that. Can you give me a little more information?
Well, the robberies, I kind of feel like they were just like a crime of opportunity. It's not the area or that block was just not targeted. I think it was just a crime of opportunity right? Someone with the Canada Goose jacket on, and they so happen to be driving.
Yeah.
Connecticut is a pretty busy corridor, but I wanted to more so focus on what I could really contain at this point, which is our burglaries. And like I said,
no, I didn't mean the Canada Goose one. I know that's happening, but
right. There's another one that was reported. I just don't, I'm trying to think about which one that was, because I don't want to brief out on
no, that's okay.
Wrong robbery, but
I mostly was wondering just like if there was like additional like there sounds like there have been a string of burglaries up and down sort of Connecticut Avenue, and like if that's kind of having some additional officers or eyeballs on that. I know that's something I get asked a lot from my constituents.
Right. So again, we have established a short beat during the midnight tour, and what we've been doing is we've been reaching out to the business owners and telling them, do not leave money in your cash register. So Lily's, I'm not sure if Lily's is in your ANC. I think that might be more south. I'm still, like I said, I'm still trying to familiarize myself where but we caught a burglary a few days ago involving them, but they did exactly what we told them to do. Do not leave any money in the drawer. So hopefully that would change in behavior would kind of, stop that. So that's kind of what we are pushing out to them as well.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any other commissioners have questions? Commissioner Knapp?
Sure, Captain Savoy. First of all, thank you for coming and talking with us tonight. I hope that we see you, again, frequently. I've had comments from constituents around my SMD on, who are concerned with the uptick in crime occurring not just, in some of our busiest places, but also in some other corners of the area. And one thing that people have noticed in terms of thefts from autos is in the past, cars just on streets were targeted. And now they're finding more and more cars parked in driveways, frequently with non-DC license plates, and then presumably belonging to contractors or others who may be working in the home, are being targeted because they assume that people leave purses in the vehicles, and that because of status or other considerations, people may be less willing to engage with the police on investigations. So I was going to ask if you've heard this as well, and if the department is, again, focusing on theft from auto around the area, especially those populations that are more vulnerable to being targeted.
So theft from autos, those are the most hardest cases for us to really close, because most times we do not have a witness. I myself too, I was a victim of a theft from auto just recently. So I understand everyone's frustration. It is very frustrating. So with the construction workers, we really try to push out awareness to them as well. What happens with those is that while they're working as construction, they tend to leave a lot of the expensive tools in their trucks. And we kind of have to, I don't know if there's a better way of maybe locking some of those equipment, but we're almost inviting these thieves into our blocks. So in other words, I had a frustrated neighbor, and I went by his house last week, knocked on his door. Of course, he wasn't there, but as I'm walking off, down his steps back onto the sidewalk, there's a Volkswagen Jetta parked directly in front of his home. Now he said it's not his car, and on the driver's seat, it's a speaker. And I know the speaker was of some value, right? And it's in plain view. So with things like that, we really have to pay attention to. What I would like to do, if you all ever have an opportunity, is let's do a community walk, and we can hit your block and streets and really identify things that that they look for. So although maybe you are safeguarding your equipment and ensuring that you're not, having anything being left in your car, doesn't mean that your neighbor is doing the same thing. So we have to kind of change that behavior on leaving things left in vehicles. We did see a slight uptick in Cadillac converters at the beginning of this year, but it was more so on the west side of like 204 is like more so like 205. But even with those Cadillac converters, we see it, and then it gets missing for months. We wouldn't see it again, and the next thing you know, we see an uptick in that. Those, and then the airbags. So even with the airbags, we try to push out, just going back to buying a basic club to put that airbag, to secure that airbag in the car. And did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Captain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Unless any other commissioners have any pressing questions, I think we can open it up for a couple of questions from community members, should they have them. So you can use the little raise hand feature down at the bottom in the reactions button, or
And
just in the chat.
And we ask that you limit it to a question, not a comment, and I will time everyone to keep us to 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Ms. Gibbons, please go ahead. You're on mute and I'm asking you to unmute.
Yep, there we go. Captain Savoy, thank you for being here. Last night I was, on the, Cleveland Park Main Street. One of your officers was doing a great job walking about and was interfacing with a person who was on the street, deeply intoxicated and looking for money, food, or whatever. And I was wondering if you could just tell me what, if anything, the MPD has in the way of interface with folks who are, clearly in some kind of deep trouble and out in public like that.
Okay, so you said he was intoxicated. So I guess when we do get those calls, so when we get on the scene of those calls, we try to figure out exactly what it is that they're experiencing. Some people are just intoxicated because they had a good time at one of the restaurants or bars along that corridor. And then sometimes we do see people that are maybe experiencing mental health or experiencing homelessness at that time. So we do try to figure out exactly what resource that they need. We do have CIO officers out there. We have an officer, her name is Natalie Charles. We directly contact her, when we make contact with people experiencing homelessness. A lot of times they are intoxicated, and if they're a danger to themselves or others, we will, at most times forcefully take them in, and ensure that they, that they get the treatment that they need.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the community?
One thing I would like to mention, we had a serious car accident in the 3900 block of Connecticut Avenue. This was yesterday. I don't believe your ANC goes up that far.
It's right in front of my house. I literally walked out my door and into a maple.
Okay, so what you're going to see, Commissioner, is that you're going to see more of our traffic cars for the next couple of weeks, really focusing on that area as well. So if you all do see something, traffic related, if you can kind of be a little specific as to maybe the time and what exactly that looks like, whether someone's running a red light, speeding, we can definitely pour those resources. Just understand that I have limited cars and everybody wants this. So we got to kind of share the wealth. But if that is something you all see, definitely send it my way and I can get patrol units out there.
Happy to send you the video that I took this morning standing at that bus stop with all the speeding cars. We also will be renewing our request of a resolution that we passed last year, and I think the year before as well, requesting that the rush hour restrictions on parking be lifted. as they were during part of COVID. They did not have those reversible lanes and the paintings are gone. But if we do as we've requested, and, you know, have that lane of parking there, that could potentially have that speed situation settle down, because that is very dangerous, that being a crosswalk that literally hundreds of children and families use every day. Like, I've almost gotten there so
I
many
don't
times.
even believe, and I don't believe I've seen a speed camera. Is there a speed camera right there? I think I've seen it maybe more north in like the 4,000, like north of the
Yeah.
4,000 block of
There-
Connecticut. I'm
there-
trying to think of maybe that something like that could be useful, or even a smart cart. A smart cart, maybe, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to see if we have a designated smart cart that's assigned to the second district. So pretty much what that does is it's just a cart where it kind of captures, you know, as you're driving, it kind of captures your speed and it'll kind of prompt you to kind of slow down. So I'll see if
Scary. That would be great. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, if you can we drop your name and email address into the chat if anybody has any other follow-up for you? Is that all right? And I'll ask one of my fellow commissioners to help me. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. All right. Moving on to our next item, it's SMD reports. So let's start with 3C. Well, actually, let's do it this way. Does anyone have an SMD report? Please raise your hand if you would like to report out on an SMD issue. Commissioner Geis.
Sure. So I have a few different community updates. Firstly, I have the opportunity to welcome Matthew Barkley, who's on this call. I'm the representative from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Take a tour of SMD3C01. We brought attention to empty storefronts, recently opened and soon to be open community institution. We reported potholes on the 311 app, and we discussed ways to work together in the future. The two of us were welcomed by the Woodley House for a walkthrough. There we discussed the need for additional state funding to bring staffing levels to where they need to be. It was nice getting to speak to residents and staff, and we're very grateful to Sue and Ann of Woodley House for hosting us. As of yesterday, WMATA is reporting that Metro railway times are now only 8 minutes on the red line, which is good, and it includes both Woodley Park and Cleveland Park. And so that's definitely improvement. And after discussions with DDOT, I'm proud to speak to ongoing infrastructure projects happening in SMD3C01. Bike racks will be added to various places in Woodley Park, including 3 in front of 2601 Connecticut Avenue, which is CEDIA, 4 in front of 2637 Connecticut, which is Custom Cleaners, and 3 in front of 2649 Connecticut, which is Hans Pallet. I'm also happy to report that a feasibility study is underway regarding extending the time residents will have to cross Connecticut Avenue at the intersection of Woodley Road. After meeting with constituents, it is clear that there's an outcry of demand for more speed bumps on Woodley Place. We continue having these discussions and make a plan to garner support. Additionally, there's a need for greater composting solutions, of which we will also continue to explore. The Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs has sent over a list of building permits for 3C01 in February that have been issued and accepted. I have attached this information provided, and I will include it for the meeting minute. And for people in the community, please reach out if you need me for anything. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Siddiqui, I saw your hand go up.
Yes, just wanted to update everyone that a lot of the construction on this side of Connecticut Avenue, the west side is nearing completion. There's still some work left, so that might be going on, but most of the businesses are accessible. Construction will be starting on Monday on Commissioner Gordon's side. And so if it's possible, please do visit the businesses. They will be open and they will be accessible. The other announcement I have is that there's going to be construction happening on Lowell Street between 33rd to 34th Street. And I'll provide more information to the community about this as well, but I've pasted that in the chat. And then finally, the last thing I would like to outline is that the Cleveland Park Main Street is working with the Capitol Hill Alphabet Animal Art Project to bring animal sculptures to our neighborhood. And so they're asking for donations to raise this. This is something the ANC supported. Commissioner Paggett's led on this last year, and so we've had support from the ANC. But if you would like to donate, I've pasted that link in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? SMD report. Commissioner Nash. You're on mute there.
You'd think I'd learn. I just wanted to make a brief announcement, particularly to those in the SMD I represent, which includes the west side of Cleveland Park, the west side of Woodley Park, and of course, Massachusetts Avenue Heights. Later this evening, the commission will be taking up its own guidelines and rules, and there will be some discussion of ANC committees. There has been in the past as well, but the ANC is encouraging members who are not members of the commission to volunteer for those committees. And so would just like to encourage people to consider and express an interest in joining committees, whether it's planning, zoning, housing and economic development, or historic preservation, or transportation, among others. And speaking of transportation, you heard in the discussion with the captain, people are justifiably very interested in pedestrian safety and traffic safety issues, from Connecticut Avenue to many of our narrower streets, including where schools are. This is, I think, an opportune time in the city, and certainly in this ANC, to put more focus on pedestrian safety, including traffic calming. And again, would urge anyone who believes that they have an unsafe situation on a street where they live to contact your ANC commissioner, certainly to contact me if you're in my SMD. And then finally, and in case Commissioner Siddiqui hasn't spoken to this, but he and I represent twin sides of the 34th Street and Reno Road area. And we are committed to having DDOT, including getting some budget support, to look at this roadway from a safety standpoint. It's been now 20 plus years since it was reconfigured by DDOT. It made some enhancements in safety 20 some years ago. It's obviously time for a fresh relook because we have various schools directly or adjacent to that road, for one thing. So stay tuned, but Commissioner Siddiqui and I are committed to working on that matter with the community.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? I will go for 3C03, just to correct the record on the accident that occurred. It was the 3000 block of Connecticut, directly in front of the zoo, directly in that crosswalk. It was 4 cars involved. The carnage, they were clearly not traveling 25 miles an hour. So as I said, we will be following up with the resolution that we had passed and making the ask again. So there's that. I'll follow up with the police officer or the captain about this as well. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is we will also be looking into the zoo bus parking, the idling and such on Connecticut Avenue at the next safe, sustainable and transportation committee meeting in an effort to discuss and then pass a resolution on that matter in March. These one-off efforts don't seem to be working to get this bus situation resolved. So we're going to formalize our ask with the great weight of the entire commission behind it. And that way we'll have that in our pocket to hopefully actually get some attention on the matter. So I know the number of folks have reached out about that, and I just wanted to mention look for the next transportation committee meeting or join the transportation committee, and that would be even better. So with that, unless any other SMDs want to go, we can move on. All righty. Moving on, this is committee reports. And first up is safe, sustainable transportation. Commissioner Siddiqui.
Thank you. I was just pulling up my minutes and I'll paste them into the chat as well. So at our last transportation committee meeting, most of the time was taken up discussing the sidewalk resolution that we just passed today. And so people provided a lot of good inputs, and we discussed quite a bit on how to make the resolution work for everyone. We also discussed Commissioner Prinzo provided an update on the sidewalk next to Oyster Elementary that was blocked off. And so those updates were also provided. And then we also got a lot of other ideas on where we can focus on different types of sidewalks and other issues like that. We're also encouraged everyone to fill out the WMATA survey, which I believe now is over. So I won't post the link for that anymore. But two of the items we couldn't get to was following up on Connecticut Avenue from the meeting with DDOT. In terms of advocating for wider bicycle lanes for families and seniors, and then maximizing pickup, drop off, and short-term parking. And then there was an idea for having free metro and bus ride for bicycle riders. So we'll follow up on that. And then as well, next time, as Commissioner Pagets mentioned, we'll be discussing bus parking for the zoo and adding bike lockers at the Cleveland Park Metro, or not adding, getting them back.
And when is your next meeting?
That would be good to know. Our meetings are second Wednesdays of every month, and so it is March 8th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Excellent. Then we have transparency and public process, which I think you can be very brief since we'll be spending some time on your.
Yes, so we had our meeting, I think 2 weeks ago now, and we just discussed our rules and our code of conduct. And special thanks to Commissioners Paget, Siddiqui, and Nash for joining, and as well as the members of the public. So we will certainly be discussing them later.
Yep. Thank you. Community engagement and grants. Commissioner Kripke is still here somewhere? I thought I promoted.
I think he dropped off.
I think he dropped off.
Oh,
no, he's here.
Oh, there he is.
Bouncing around my squares.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm having technical problems.
Right.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
We're not saying anything, but can you provide an update on your
Community engagement grants? Yes, very quickly. The committee is off to a slow start. We haven't yet had a meeting, but I will notice the meeting for March 28th. We will typically meet the last Tuesday of the month, and in particular, if there are grant applications to review. And I will be sending around an agenda with some background materials shortly in advance of that meeting. I really hope folks will pay attention and attend the meeting and join the committee if you have any interest in community engagement and grants. And that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. I can start, and then I'm hoping Commissioner Gordon will cover anything that I might miss. Our last meeting was February 6th. We really talked about the Wardman resolution, which again, I don't think we need to spend time on at this portion since we'll be discussing that regular business at this meeting. We also discussed zoning overlays that limit retail types, and we'll be taking that up at the next committee meeting. And we will also be adding tenant rights and housing. Sorry, didn't finish my thought on this note that I had, but comments basically to DCHA on some of the programs that they run that we think it's important to, especially during budget season, have a voice in. Our next meeting is Monday, March 6th, starting at 6:30 p.m. via the Zoom, and we will provide a more detailed agenda prior to that. And then Commissioner Gordon, am I missing anything on the readout? And then we'll go to nominations of standing committee members that we've received.
No, I don't think you're making any errors in what we discussed. I know. Are we going to do new committee members now or at the next meeting?
Now,
Okay.
got to do them at the
Full
right
meeting. Got it. Sorry,
meeting.
newbie question. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I probably should have been a little bit more instruction oriented on this. But we have two nominations, one by Commissioner Siddiqui of Bob Ward. Do you want to briefly say something? And I believe Mr. Ward's on this call.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, this nomination is for the PZ committee, the Planning, Zoning, Housing and Economic Development Committee. Mr. Ward's in my SMD, and I'm nominating him because he has been involved in these issues, has quite a bit of knowledge base about these, and will be able to provide a lot of information. Just want to remind everyone, committees don't make decisions, commissions do, and so this is mostly the committees over here and the committee members over here are there to help take part in the discussion and formulate arguments and formulate ideas that can then go to the commission. Mr. Ward, if you're here and you would like to say a few words, please feel free to.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, no, I really would like to join the committee. My involvement in the neighborhood really is focused around Connecticut Avenue and working with the former Cleveland Park Business Association and the revitalization effort to getting the Main Street here and the current planning process. It's issues that I've been working on, and I look forward to working on the committee to help revitalize the area and look at issues as they come up regarding housing, economic development, and of course planning and zoning. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Nash.
You're on mute.
Once again, this is not a question directed at Mr. Ward or anything about his nomination, because I think his interest and involvement in these issues is well known. But I would just say, with respect to committee member nominations, and I raised this point the last time, it would be good to have these names in advance if they were
So,
on.
Commissioner Nash, I sent the name to everyone on the commission and the bio a week in advance, like the request.
Then I apologize, but it is good to get these, up front from everyone. So thanks.
I sent them because you asked for it. So yeah, no, that happened.
But I otherwise support Mr. Ward's nomination.
Okay. And the other nomination is from Commissioner Kripke of John Goodman, and I can pull it up, his bio. I'm sorry, I forgot to remind everyone that we were going to do this at this meeting. I know you're on the move, so let me know.
Well, yes, just very quickly, I'd like to nominate John. He's a longtime Woodley Park resident and a leader in the Woodley Park Community Association. I think he'd be a real asset for the committee work. And if I don't know if he's on the call, but I'd invite him to make a comment if he's on the call.
Don't see him,
I don't think Mr. Goodman is here.
I don't think he's here.
Yep.
but we'll definitely have it on the notes to have him introduce himself at the next full meeting. Thank you. Commissioner Nash, is that a new hand or an old hand?
It's an old hand.
Okay.
It would, and I appreciate Commissioner Siddiqui sending it around, but it would be good if the commission secretary could put all the nominations and other materials that we're going to be asked to take votes on the website, so folks can see it where we have all the materials together.
Sure. Commissioner Gordon?
Well, I was going to nominate some for the committee, but I don't know if Commissioner Nash is going to be amenable to that because I did not see the notice to send it around in advance. So maybe Chair, give me your recommendation on whether I do that now or next meeting.
We can formally do it next meeting. I mean, it's not like.
Yep, sounds fine to me. I
Well,
just,
you still come to the meeting and participate. It's
yeah,
just-
yeah, no, totally. It's like a formality thing. I just want to make sure that like, you know.
All
we're
right.
Is your nominee here?
Feelings or, yes,
Maybe we can ask them to introduce themselves if they're here, so that way Commissioner Nash can see them a whole month in advance.
yeah, that sounds good. So we can talk about it at the next meeting, but I just wanted to introduce Tom Leber, who is known to a lot of people in the neighborhood as Cleveland Park needs a coffee shop, and has been a great advocate for our neighborhood and getting great businesses to come to it. So I talked to him after the last PZ meeting, and he has agreed to join the committee. And so I'd love to nominate him when we next come up for it. So
Thank you
Tom,
very
I
much.
just asked you to
And-
unmute. Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your nomination. In general, I think compared to some people, I'm a fairly newer face in the community here in Cleveland Park. But I went to American University just down the street. I've had a lot of friends who've come through here. And I'm someone who would travel to the neighborhood to visit those people and visit the businesses here in Cleveland Park. As someone who lives here now, I really have a lot of interest in sort of, I don't want to say reviving, but bringing more life to Cleveland Park, especially after the pandemic, after the closure of the Uptown Theater, et cetera. My main interest that really drew me into this was a coffee shop. But really, I'm interested in anything that we can do to bring so much life to this neighborhood, bring new businesses to this neighborhood. So thank you very much for your recommendation.
Absolutely. Thanks for getting involved. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I realized that I should have done this as we went through each one, but we're gonna go back. So Swally nominated Bob Ward. Is there a second to that nomination?
Second.
Thank
Second.
you. All right. On the question of nominating Bob Ward to the Peace Head Committee, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right, that's, I believe, everyone I can see, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 commissioners, 7. Excellent, thank you. That motion passes. On the nomination of John Goodman to the Peace Side Committee, is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. On the question of the nomination of John Goodman to the Peace Side Committee, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right, that's 1, 2, 3. That's everybody I can see. That motion passes. Thank you very much. On the nomination of, is there a second for the nomination of Cleveland Park Needs Coffee Shop, Tom Leibert, to the Peace Head Committee?
Second.
Excellent. On the question of Tom Leibert to the Peace Head Standing Committee, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 6. Perfect. Thank you. That motion passes. Congratulations to all the new standing committee members. And thank you in advance for your service.
I have one other question, which is in the Transparency Committee, when we went over committee charters or rules, we had discussed, whether there is some kind of allocation or seeking, SMD diversity. And I'm just wondering, are we still going to apply that? And if so, should we be identifying in which SMD committee members reside, if in fact they reside in the ANC?
Yes,
I think, you can go ahead.
yes, because that language is still in the rules, correct, Commissioner Prinzo?
Yes.
That we're going to be voting on and hopefully not changing that bit today. That's kind of what we followed just now.
And
so
I think they all announced that they live in their SMDs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but are they in different SMDs or
Yes.
if they?
Yeah,
Yes.
they're in 05, 06, 07.
I believe each of the commissioners nominated somebody from their SMD.
Correct.
Yeah, we followed what the draft of the rules, what we have in that. So that we wouldn't have to be a foul. So, okay. So moving on, our next item is the Residential Historic Preservation Committee meeting. I know there's at least one case this month at 3401 Newark Street, which is Commissioner Nash's SMD, and then the co-chairs of this commission. If you would like to give an update, please, on when that meeting will be. And just again, remind folks of who are the co-chairs of this committee so they know who to reach out to formally join the committee. And again, people can still participate at all of these committee meetings. They're open to the public, and so you don't have to be formally on it to go, just to be clear.
No, I don't think we've yet scheduled the meeting, but we do have one item to review, as you know. I'm a co-chair together with Commissioner Kripke. And I think we have one other.
Commissioner Siddiqui.
Commissioner Siddiqui. In addition to this, I look forward to establishing a way that we can work more closely with and coordinate with the local architectural review committee. I see the chair, Chris Hobbs, here. They have a lot of work to do, covering 2 ANCs and 2 different committees. So I look forward to establishing a more efficient way of working and communicating so that we can all do our work more effectively.
So the meeting time that we decided on was the first Monday of the month. And I believe Commissioner Paggett's, the PZ meeting starts at 6:30 p.m. And so the Residential Historic Preservation Review Committee will start at 7:30 p.m.
Great. Thank
That
you.
also encourages your all's meeting to only last an hour. And that's so, because now we have a meeting and we have something on the agenda.
Yes. All right, that wraps up this month's standing committee reports. So we will now move on to community forum. Members of the public are invited to ask questions and raise concerns about issues that are not otherwise on the agenda. Please limit your time to 30 seconds. And anyone in the public have something in this portion of the agenda?
Bar Weiner asking you to unmute, and you have 30 seconds.
Thanks very much. I just wanted to follow up on Swaley's comment about the sculptures for Connecticut Avenue, to mention that the Cleveland Park Community Association is doing a matching funding for that. So all the more reason for folks on the phone, if you haven't contributed, please consider, because if you do give money, more money will come in care of CPCA. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you. Mr. Ward?
Hi, thanks. So this was mentioned earlier that you were going to pick up the resolution that you passed last year to end the rush hour restrictions on Connecticut Avenue. I applaud that. Is there any way the community can add its voice to making that happen? Sending emails, whatever. Do you know where they should be directed to Director Lott, to the mayor, Councilmember Fruman?
I would say all of the above.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll put something in the chat, and I'll to give the public what they want to say in email. I think Mr. Ward, you're right. The emails will help. I will also be if anyone has any questions about this, please email me and I'll forward you the email I sent regarding our resolution and everything else as well. So this will also be on the newsletter I will send out later tonight or tomorrow.
Great, thank you. All right, anybody else? You can use the raise hand and the reactions button. Raise your physical hand on video. All right, I don't see anyone, so we will move on to commission business with the first resolution. We're considering it's regarding Environmental Justice Committee as a standing committee. If you just want to read the resolves, Commissioner McCorston.
Sure, just the resolved portion.
Yes, please. Well, if you want to briefly introduce what this is and then do that, that would maybe be helpful too, but we don't need to read the whole thing.
Okay. Yes, my resolution would establish as a standing committee, an environmental justice committee, which I envision as a platform for the community to come together and discuss environmental issues. I see it as having kind of three pillars of education, action, and equity. So on education, I'd like to tap into the expertise and knowledge of members of our community, residents of our ANC, and other members of the district about issues affecting environmental preservation, climate change, and sustainability, and what actions we can take as neighbors to help each other to address these issues. Also, as part of education, I could envision inviting different representatives from district government agencies to explain different public services that are offered, like composting, recycling, that we can help educate other members of the community to know what's already available, so that we can increase participation in those services in our ANC among our neighbors. There may be other people we can invite from the community or from around the district to speak on relevant issues. I think also of the embassies that are in our jurisdiction who are happy to talk about public policy approaches in their countries that encourage individual action to protect and support and nurture the environment. So that also gets to the action piece a little bit. When we do things like our community cleanups, and finding ways, like I mentioned before, for neighbors to help other neighbors. I know in my building during COVID, some of us got together and helped each other out with compost collecting and dropping it off on the weekends for different groups of neighbors in our apartment buildings. So we have a platform where we could make those kind of recommendations, talk about our experiences, and hopefully encourage action among other members of the community. And equity, searching out ways to collaborate with other ANCs across the district, and encouraging use of the green spaces and public spaces in our jurisdiction by residents across the district and beyond, and also sharing our knowledge with them, our expertise, to promote an equitable approach to environmental protection. Also part of the equity piece would be to acknowledge the history of inequity in our ANC in Ward 3 when it comes to environmental protection, to be mindful that, to acknowledge that, and have that guide some of our discussions as well. So I think that's a good summary of the whereas portions of the resolution. I invite people to read it. I listed some of the green spaces in our ANC, so I'm happy to honor and celebrate them as well. Let's see if there's anything else to mention.
Okay. And as background, in the whereas clause about how it remains a priority of the Bowser administration to, quote, make the District of Columbia the healthiest, greenest, most livable city for all district residents. I referenced the Sustainable DC 2.0 plan a few times and have based the kind of mission, as I see it, of this committee on the calls for action at the neighborhood level in that report. So I see us as having a responsibility to do that. So let's see, to read off the resolved portions, therefore be it resolved that ANC3C establishes an environmental justice committee as a standing committee. Be it further resolved that the Environmental Justice Committee is tasked with the following. First point, to act as a platform for public education and discussion about environmental justice by drawing on the expertise and experience of community members with issues relevant to climate, energy, nature, waste, and other pertinent topics. Second point, to organize opportunities for the community to participate in direct action that benefits the natural environment and ANC3C, such as community cleanups in public spaces. Point 3, to help community members understand the public services made available by the district government for taking action at the individual level, such as composting and recycling programs. Point 4, to make recommendations to the commission and to the district as a whole on matters that have an impact on the natural environment in the neighborhood. Point 5, to explore opportunities for collaboration with other ANCs across the district on topics relevant to environmental justice. Be it further resolved that Rourke McCorston, Commissioner for SMD 3C04, shall be the chair of the Environmental Justice Committee of ANC3C for the Commission year 2023 and 2024. Be it further resolved that the committee chair shall appoint, with the approval of the Commission, additional members of the committee.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for putting this together and thought behind it. And I'm very excited about moving this forward. So with that, is there a discussion from the commissioners? Commissioner Nash.
Sure. First of all, thank you for the thought behind it. There are a lot of very worthwhile responsibilities of this committee. I have a question now. Maybe it's implicit in the one whereas clause that I think references environmental matters, but I would hope that the committee does have a broader focus than education and volunteerism, and of course environmental justice, but includes environmental policy issues in the district. I think it's implicit in the resolution, but it's maybe could be a little more clearly stated, but whether it's issues related to our tree canopy or water runoff or enhancement of our green spaces. I think these are all important issues that benefit not only our community, but really serve as green lungs for the District of Columbia. And I hope that those will be a focus of the committee as well.
Thanks for that comment, Commissioner. I do, and the topics that you just mentioned, especially the tree canopy, I had in mind when I wrote this. So unless you would like me to explicitly state that in the text, to consider that part of the mission of this committee. I'm in agreement with those issues that you raised are important for us to discuss and include.
Okay, thank you.
So you would accept that as a friendly amendment to add that explicit statement into the bullet points there under what the task is the following?
Yeah, I don't mean just the specific issues, but environmental policy issues.
Okay.
Yeah, it can include policy. Should we work that in right now?
Yeah, that would be great if you can. So we get the exact statement in there. I mean, if you're comfortable with that being accepted, and then it'll be on the record and we can.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with incorporating language to reflect environmental policy as well.
Is that okay with you, Commissioner Nash?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioners have any comments, discussion, questions? No? Okay, anyone in the community want to weigh in here? All right. Seeing none, I think we can move
I'll
to.
call the question.
Okay. The
Right.
question is on approving the resolution for the Environmental Justice Committee as a standing committee of 3C. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands. All right, that motion carries. Thank you very much. And I look forward to working on this. All right.
Thank you very
Our
much.
next item is the consideration of 3C operating rules and code of conduct. Commissioner Prinzo, I don't know if you, let's just highlight, some of the changes. These have been up on our website and discussed at our January meeting. And then also
Briefly, yes.
our Transparency and Public Process Committee meeting. Yeah, they've been out there for a while, so.
So I will move them. I'm not going to read them because they're about like 15 to 16 pages combined. Essentially, the rules just give us as a commission a way of operating in both a in-person, should we ever return to it, but also in a virtual setting. And our code of conduct is a way for us to be accountable to each other, but also to the public on behavior, etc. It also outlines behavior that will not be tolerated by members of the public or commissioners in a public meeting such as the one that we are in right now. If there's any other comments, I'm happy to take them. I think they're pretty self-explanatory.
Can we get a
I'd like-
second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. All right, with that, we'll open it up for discussion, comments with commissioners. Anyone? I know you've all memorized them, taken them to heart. All right, I don't see any. So with that, we'll open it up to the public for any comments or questions. All right. Sorry.
I'll call it.
All right, the question is called to approve ANC3C's rules and code of conduct. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commissioners raising their hands. The motion passes. The rules and code of conduct are adopted. Thank you for all your work on this, Commissioner Prinzo, for taking the lead. It was a lot.
I especially want to thank Commissioner Prinzo, and just so everyone knows, ANC3C has never had rules and codes of conduct. So Commissioner Prinzo, what you've done is something that no one else has done before. And we've had some illustrious commissioners who are now council chairs as well. So congratulations on this, and thank you for shepherding this through.
And thank both of you and Commissioner Nash also for providing input, and everybody for providing input. It's very essential.
Great, thank you. All right, now on to another Commissioner Prinzo-led Herculean effort of the letter from ANC3C to the Office of Planning regarding the Wardman large track review. So Commissioner Prinzo, if you just want to go over, well, you've highlighted this again has been posted on our website. We also had a robust discussion at the Planning, Zoning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee meeting. We had a special meeting dedicated to this back on January 26th. This have been available from OP since the 20th. So Commissioner Prinzo, floor is yours.
So the three main points that we are articulating in this letter, firstly, after getting some feedback from residents of Woodley Park and some feedback also from the WPCA, we are asking Carmel to reduce the current number of parking spots that they are allotting. I believe they're allotting close to 900, which is a 1-for-1 ratio, which is a little much. Just because, you know, we state that we live in a very transit heavy neighborhood. We have multiple bus routes, a metro line, multiple capital bike share, docking stations, and 900 does seem very excessive. We also point out that there was some recommendations made about having some transit oriented events for residents of the building. And we think that that will entice people to take advantage of our wonderful public transportation system here in the district. Secondly, we are asking DCPS to kind of alleviate some of the crowding issues that might exacerbate themselves once more children attend Oyster Elementary. I say this a lot, but not every unit will have a child attached to it, but there is a good chance that there will be a significant increase in the number of children attending Oyster in a small amount of time. Oyster is already crowded, so it now would be the perfect time for DCPS to kind of look at the lines as they are doing that district-wide, and also using this time while the buildings are being built to come up with some creative solutions to figure out how to keep Oyster a bilingual program and also not have it overly crowded. And the last point that we made, we got a lot of feedback actually about making sure that Carmel retains, or whoever does end up managing the building, retains the name Wardman in some way, shape, or form. I actually pulled an article from one of the newspapers here that highlights all that the Wardman name and the Wardman person. Can't think of his first name right now, actually. Commissioner Packets, what's his first name? Harry?
Yes, I believe it was Harry Wardman.
He had a lot of buildings and homes in this area, so there was a lot of hope that that name will stick with the property. So those are the three main points that we have made. Happy to take any comments, questions.
Well, can we get a second?
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Gordon, thank you for seconding. With that, we'll open it up for commissioner comments, questions. Again, I know, and I thank a lot of you for providing feedback in advance of the meeting, including, I think we had a few community members also, weigh in on the drafts, and we were able to pick up some of those changes. So anything we get in advance is appreciated and very welcome. So thank you. Commissioners? Nope. All right, members of the public, this is your opportunity to weigh in. Additionally, members of the community can send their comments still to OP directly. And that comment period is open till when, Commissioner Prinzo?
Friday the 24th.
Okay, great, thank you. Any members of the public? No? Okay. I don't see any. Does anybody else see any hands up, waving? Okay. Great. With that, without objection, I think we can move to a vote on this. Yes? All right.
Yes.
all those in favor of this, please raise your hand, of the Wardman large track review, letter in response, or letter to OP. Please raise your hand or say aye. Okay, we have all 8 of us raising our hands on this. We do need the count on this vote, so it is passed 8-0. This is the ANC3C's response on the large track review for the Wardman Park property. Thank you. All right. And now we are on to other business, and we'll start with the secretary's report.
I sent around a copy of the minutes a week ago. I will move them now unless there's any changes.
Second.
All right, cool. Does anyone have any changes? No? All right, without objection, we'll move to a vote to approve the January minutes of ANC3C. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, that is again, all 8 of us. Thank you. We will now move on to the treasurer's report. Commissioner Siddiqui.
Our ANC security fund still has not been approved, which means we can't do any business at all. Also means that our administrator hasn't been paid for a while. We did everything on time. They just have not been moving it forward. But we do have one expense, which is our administrator's January hours, which were 21 hours. And that when we are able to write a check, we'll be writing a check for $528.26. This is just an informative thing. We don't need to vote on it.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your best efforts in trying to get that fund approved. So not in our court right now. So thank you. All right. With that, I would like to make the motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting and move the commissioners into an executive session. So executive sessions are used to discuss things that are sensitive regarding legal matters and personnel.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of moving this meeting into executive session, please raise your hand. All right, that's the majority. Thank you very much to the public for joining us this month, and we'll see you at committee months in the neighborhood along the way. And thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Just letting everyone know we're putting you in the waiting room, so you'll eventually just have to leave the meeting.